One of the frustrations that home buyers have going through the lending process is all the paperwork, right? I mean, it seems like it's never ending sometimes. Why is your lender asking for more and more documents? Well, we're going to ask a lender today why that is and get him to explain why it's needed. Welcome into the Smart Mortgage Show. Ben George with Bill Litton at Cross Country Mortgage. He is regional president there. And Bill, look, stop me if you've heard this before. Hey, why do you keep asking for more and more documents? Why do you need all these?
Yeah, so getting a mortgage, we've done a lot over the years to streamline our process and make it as painless as possible, but that really equates to less pain. There is going to be some pain. It'd be like going to the dentist and they say, we've got a drill for a cavity and you're not going to feel anything. Not true, but a good dentist can do a great job to limit the amount of pain. So that's what we've done in our process. And, there's a lot of paperwork required. Number one, because you're borrowing an amount of money that nobody else on the planet is going to give you at those interest rates. Okay. You may be able to secure financing at double or triple those rates, which would be a terrible idea. But the interest rates on the money that low, they need to be really confident that you can pay it back. And they've got a series of checks and balances that equate to, a bit of a paperwork marathon, really. And that is the reason for all of the paperwork.
Let's talk about some of the reasons more specifically why this happens, right? So that if you do go through the process and you feel like, man, I feel like it's just a waste of time to keep giving these documents, well, there's a reason for it. So let's get into that a little bit, Bill. I want to start with the just having to constantly make sure things are updated, right? That's kind of the first reason why this is needed.
So we get all the time, I already sent that to you. And this usually pertains to a bank statement or a pay stub. Both of those items, they age over time, and in our world, they expire. So a pay stub that's greater than 30 days old is no longer valid. It needs to be updated. So we'll ask for updated pay stubs, and people will think, we've sent these things to you 2 and 3 times. And the truth is you've sent older pay stubs, but they've expired. So now we're asking for updated pay stubs. So it feels like you're resending the same things twice, but most of the time that's really just sending an updated version of something you've already sent.
Okay, so keep that in mind, right? Some of these documents do expire, right? So you want to make sure that you are keeping that updated. The other part of this too, Bill, the kind of the second reason is you have to have a paper trail for everything, right? I mean, it's something we talk about all the time on this show, but you have to verify these things, and you need that paper trail.
I would say the most difficult part of getting a mortgage is verifying the funds to close and the liquid funds, and a lot of this comes back to money laundering or did money come from a place that's not an eligible source of funds? Or did you borrow the money and now 100 grand showed up in your bank account, but we can't tell them where it came from? And you don't want to because now there's another payment attached to that debt because you borrowed it. So the lenders really need to look very closely at any deposits in the bank account to make sure there's no money laundering. It's not coming from an ineligible source. You didn't borrow the funds. That's really important to keep the quality of the loan high, meaning we've looked at all the details. The funds are eligible sources. These sources are not causing issues with paying back the loan, which then makes that loan less likely to perform.
So those are kind of, I think, the main reasons why there's so much paperwork involved. But what's maybe the next reason that you're asking for these documents, Bill?
Well, the other reason, and a lot of people don't understand, I had this conversation with a client last week who the loan needs to be perfect to be sold in the secondary market. And what that means is insured by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So if there's a problem and you did everything right, you're insured by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and as the lender, you'll be reimbursed. You'll cash in your insurance policy so you don't lose money. I had a client last week and we were asking for a lot, and they actually felt like we were personally asking them for more information than what would normally be asked for. And I assure them by saying, listen, I 100% believe that you have all of the information needed just as it needs to be. But you're not really fulfilling the requirement with me. You're fulfilling a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac standard requirement. And they need us to do that with the paperwork. We need to show them with the paperwork. I believe it. Unfortunately, I am not the final say here. I am not the underwriter.
Yeah, it's something else to keep in mind there. So, look, there's a lot of reasons for it. I know it can be frustrating, but again, it's not just the lender asking you to do more work just to do more work, right? It's to make sure everything is in order and that everything can go on time, right? Because any of these documents being off or not having everything can delay the process, can it?
It can delay the process, and the idea is that the underwriter is the ultimate say, right? And I always say, the underwriter's the judge. I'm like your defense attorney. You can show me anything and everything. I'll make sure that we get the right stuff to the underwriter. But ultimately, the underwriter needs to see what they need to see in order to make that final determination. So that's part of the process, is working together with the client, the customer, the home buyer, or the loan borrower, to make sure that we get everything in front of the judge in a way that the judge is going to like it and give their stamp of approval. I can look at a scenario and know someone's solid gold and they'll never default and they're in fantastic shape. But even still, as good as a scenario looks, everybody needs to provide the same documents. They do not discriminate. And by the way, they used to, back in the day, if everything looked great, you didn't have to supply as many documents. After 2008, even if you have everything that looks fantastic, they're going to ask that person for all the same documents as they are somebody whose credit isn't so great. Everybody needs to fulfill all the requirements.
All right, yeah, that's good to know. So again, little explanation of the process, help you better understand it. And if haven't gone through it yet and you're going through it soon, kind of give you an idea of what to expect. But there is a reason, a little reason behind the chaos of all the paperwork and maybe the tedious time that gets spent during that. But you want to get it right, and you want to make sure you are on track to getting that home that you want to buy. So if you have questions for Bill, just text the word LEND to 21,000. You can get in touch with him that way. Also, check us out online, smartmortgageshow.com. And also, as always, please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that as well. All right, thanks for being a part of another Smart Mortgage Show for Bill Linton at Cross Country Mortgage. I am Ben George. Take care. This program is for informational purposes only. Please consult a qualified professional before taking any action. Bill Linton is a loan advisor and regional president with Cross Country Mortgage, NMLS number 147060.